come from Brisbane. I was born in 1950. I grew up in a normal suburban fibro house, played with pencils and pens and so forth, and made curious drawings and so forth. And I remember seeing a television interview with Ian Fairweather, who at that time was living on Bribie Island, and he was presented as a hobo, and I just thought he was absolutely marvellous, and I connected to him. Although I never met him, I consider him one of my influences.
When did you come to Castlemaine?
I first came to Castlemaine from Melbourne because I had some friends here and had a look around, and then I moved back to Brisbane for a few months and then emigrated to Castlemaine in December 1972. I set myself up as a painter and decorator, and had a shop in where Togs is now with my partner, Kay Swanton. We formed a successful partnership, Thornton and Swanton, and had a lot of fun and did a lot of work, and painted a lot of houses and a lot of signs, little sign writing and paper hanging. By that stage I was involved with the Theatre Royal. I started at the theatre in 1980 and I poured all my creative energy into keeping that open for a number of years, and so my artistic output was limited for a few years. I still worked on a few projects, but I was expressing myself through the Theatre Royal.
What was your role there at the theatre?
I was the manager. I conducted the cinema business and did all the film programming and organised the shipping of the films and the publicity. And I started doing the projectionists when I could no longer afford to pay one, in 1990, I think, and I did that for a few years until my partner Ray, who conducted the nightclub, until we sold out in '99.
When did you start to get really back into painting?
I've always been painting. I had my first exhibition when I was 20 and one in Melbourne, but it was interrupted by the Theatre Royal to some extent. The current exhibition I had in Brisbane was called the Brisbane River, which was me remembering my youth and growing up in Brisbane. So that has been focus of all my activities for the last couple of years. But I work in different areas. I like fantasy vehicles, and I like mock catalogues and bogus certificates and humorous things, games, and lots of different things. But and the clocks have been, and the bags.
You have a wonderful way of viewing things. I'd sort of like to know, how do you see things? Do you have a particular influence? Was there a time in your life when you started to see things from a different angle?
Well, I don't see them from a different angle. I see them from my angle. It's you see things from a different angle. But if you're talking about the what people call the quirky sense of humour, we're all children of Spike Milligan, I think. I take delight in humorous things and poking fun at sacred cows because they are crying out for it. But the catalogues are the most fun. Making pretend catalogues and describing products just from their appearance, and actually manufacturing things too and calling it sculpture. I'm fascinated with toasters, and toasters laden with knives and scissors, and trying to free a recalcitrant toast is a favourite image. I love the double adapter, the idea that two can come from one. It's a seminal device, and I believe if you connect enough double adapters together, you will eventually get a tiny bit of power coming from it all. So I've been making sculptures out of double adapters for many years, and having lots of fun. Each Christmas, or the last two Christmases, I've made a huge Christmas tree at the Theatre Royal out of power boards and double adapters and night lights, which have delighted adults and children alike, I hope.
Tell me about your paintings. There's a pattern to a lot of them. What's behind that?
I'm fascinated by watercolours, colours mixing with each other, and also tartans and fabric where the weave changes as each colour passes through the next colour. So a lot of my work is just exploring that, the beauty of that phenomena, really. Just the colours and the precision and the beauty and the power of that style. It's just one thing that captivates me. I love fictitious maps and continents that don't exist, and the shape of Australia. I've done a lot of work with Australia. The shape is so beautiful, except for the nuisance of Tasmania, which wrecks it. Otherwise, it's a lovely shape which can be presented many different ways, and it's always surprising. You think you've done it to death, and then you think up a new style of making in Australia.
Australia is a beautiful shape, I agree with you. I love the idea that it birthed Tasmania.
Yes, oh, that was an early drawing. It was Antarctica was the father, of course, the peninsula being the offending member, and Port Phillip Bay being the female part of Australia. I didn't want to use that word, but there was a series of drawings with a little baby Tasmania growing in the middle of Victoria, and then being born out Port Phillip Heads, and then attached to Wilson's Promontory as a sustenance at the breast, and the final stage was its current configuration, which is called adolescence.
Where will it go to from there?
Oh, it'll eventually grow up and move away.
Right. You've got other interests here too, historical ones. Tell me what got you interested there.
One of the things that interests me about moving to Castlemaine was the history, and the fact that where I come from in Brisbane, service stations are pulled down to build shopping centres, and shopping centres are pulled down to build more service stations, and it's an endless parade of development. Here in Castlemaine, where it hasn't changed much in 150 years, there's a environment that coexists, and seems to be a respect for history, just for the fact that it's not removed as as much as some other places. So, yes, it's an interest. History. I'm a member of the local historical society, and whenever I'm trawling through Facebook, it's often the history pages of various places and looking at the old photographs and so forth. It's just an interest. You were asking how I get my honours?
Yes.
Well, you might know that some ministers of religion are self-ordained. Well, I'm self-knighted, and I got my honours for it was services to the banking sector, which is putting up with the behaviour of bank managers constantly returning cheques and making it very difficult to survive, and so with all that provocation, my award recognises my services to the banking sector and all the late fees that I've paid. No more than that.